So about a month ago, I made a video talking about how to stay motivated as a game developer, and I still stand wholeheartedly by all that advice. However, I think that there's a key difference between having a lack of motivation and being burnt out. And a lot of people make the mistake of thinking of them as the same thing, because a lack of motivation is usually in the earlier stages of your project, when you start with a lot of inspiration and it just slowly tapers over time and you kind of just lose interest in the project. But burnout is more so exhaustion from working really hard. There's a lot of crossover, and I think that the things that keep you motivated mean you're less likely to burn out, but there's also better ways to tackle it specifically, and that's what we're going to talk about today. My name's Juniper. I'm here for all things indie games and game development. Let's get into it. Number 1, put them eggs in every basket. The beauty of game development is that it's 1,000 skills in one. You can do art, you can make sick beats, you can draw levels, you can program, and that is so cool. But the thing is that whether you enjoy a certain part of the process or not, if you do too much of it, you will inevitably get tired of it, and if you get tired of that, you're much more likely to get tired of the whole project. The way that inspiration hits a lot of people, or the way it at least hits me, is that it'll come all at once when I do one thing that I really enjoy. I'll learn an art style that's perfect for a project, and I go ham on making assets for like a week. And don't get me wrong, I have so much fun doing that, but inevitably it's not the best investment, because even though it's fun, you get really fatigued of doing the same thing. And game development, because it's 1,000 things in one, offers you the perfect solution, dude. If you've been making pixel art for 3 hours, you can switch right over, start working on music. You've been doing music for a little too long, you start to even feel a brink of fatigue, you can go code. Oh my gosh, isn't that lovely? Number 2, bite off what you can chew. So I love brainstorming. I love fleshing out stories, characters, building worlds, cooking up some lore, thinking of cool game mechanics. Like the design part of game development and game design, that's me right there. It's my favorite part, the most creative part of the whole process. And if you're like me in that way, then it can be very easy to get carried away, to think of the whole story behind your game, to map out every character's lore, think of all the mechanics, map out the whole world. But the problem is that you might do all of that before you actually implement anything. It's probably fun to design all that stuff in your brain and think of everything, but it's very draining because then when you go to start implementing things, it's super overwhelming. Feeling burnt out is usually a feeling of getting stuck because you've bitten off more than you can chew. So try to work in like a little stair step, you know? You think of something, implement it. Think of something, implement it. Try to do it. Because it's more easier to think of things than to actually do them, so it can be very easy to just think of things. So try to focus instead on taking things in bite-sized pieces, doing it as you go instead of overwhelming yourself. You can still write things down that pop into your noggin, but make sure you're really letting things simmer and focus on the things that you do need to do. Number 3 is to remember why you're making a game in the first place. So in my game dev motivation video, I was like, when game development's hard, you need to remember how much you're gonna improve. And basically that even if your stuff sucks now, it won't forever. But when it comes to burnout, the things that you need to focus on are slightly different. When you're trying to not get burnt out, I don't think that focusing on the progress you'll make or how much you'll learn is as effective, since it could just make it all super overwhelming. But I do think that it helps to take a step back, look at some of your favorite games, and remember the feeling that you got from them, the memories you made, why it was fun. You're obviously making a game, I assume, because you like games. You want to give somebody the experience that you had. And when you're getting burnt out, it can be really hard to see all those things. So it really doesn't hurt to just go play a game that made you want to make a game in the first place. You probably have a really cool perspective on it now, and you might even get some new ideas. So I think that one is a win-win. Number 4, don't be afraid to ask for help. There is so much to do, so much to learn with game development. So know that when you get stuck with art and you've been refining the same sprite over and over and it just looks wrong, or when you cannot fix a bug, you're not alone. In the grand scheme of the interweb, there are so many forums, so many Discord servers. On that note, you should totally join mine in the description. We have like a whole game dev channel, it's kind of cool. But anyway, point being, it's easy to fall down and convince yourself that you're in a hole when you're not. There's documentation for every engine and programming language out there, Discord servers for every engine. If you get stuck or feel exhausted and burn out, you can always reach out and someone else can help you relight that fire. Number 5, get some sleep. When I was researching for this video, every single thing was like, oh, eat a balanced meal, get some outside time, get 8 hours of sleep. duh. Obviously those things will help you, dude. I was reading these websites, like, can someone give me some real advice here? But the fact that every single website said it probably means something, so I'm gonna drill it into your brain too. Sleep is important. Your cognitive functioning on even 6 hours of sleep is drastically different than on 8 hours. I realized that very quickly my first semester of college. Your ability to think critically, remember things, focus, everything is affected by your sleep. I've started giving myself 9 hours of sleep because I realized that that's just what my brain needs. And it's been one of the best investments that I've made because it's literally that. It's an investment. You're sacrificing a little bit more time at night or your TikTok doom scrolling time so that you can be more productive the next day. But anyway, number 6 is playtesting. Playtesting is basically having people play your game, and it's obviously a really important step of game development. You have a completely biased gauge of how hard your game is or how fun it is, and you need other opinions. But another benefit of playtesting is that it's usually a really good reset. You probably want to get opinions after you reach some milestone or you finish some mechanic, but this next part might be new, okay? Because I think that even if you just added one new feature or you have like a super basic new thing set up, it still doesn't hurt to just have somebody try it. Even if you just put together like a super basic combat system, a dialogue thing, whatever, you get a lot of information from someone playing it and you get a really rewarding feeling. Because they'll probably give you a lot of new ideas and things that you didn't even think about, which can be really inspiring and it gives you more of a push to keep going. I talked about the importance of community in my game dev motivation video, so maybe this is just like an add-on to that. But even if it's for motivation, this one will definitely prevent burnout. Number 7, realize that you are unfortunately a living, breathing human being. And naturally, like anybody else on this earth, you have a limit. Because you see, any egg that's put in one of those egg cookers for too long, the little black things that you hard boil eggs in, if you keep an egg in there for too long, it will explode. It'll get everywhere. It'll be gross, it'll be yucky, you'll be so dissatisfied with your egg, and that could be you. You know those cigarette ads that are like, this is your lungs after 5 years of smoking? That egg is you when you try too hard for too long. So know that if you are obsessed with your project right now, it's okay to take a breather, go find a dog, pet a dog. Burnout usually comes from ambition that isn't channeled the right way. Ambition that is very admirable, but it's uncontrollable. It spreads everywhere way too fast. You have to manage it with all the other methods that I talked about earlier, but also sometimes by just taking a break if you need it. Sometimes just a break from anything related to games. And there's no shame in that. It doesn't make you unproductive. It's like taking a rest day. Honestly, it's not a bad idea that the second you start to feel burnt out, you just take a breather. It's like a CPU. If it's at 99% power, 100 degrees, the way that you probably fix it is by just turning off your computer for a little bit and letting it breathe. So those are my humble suggestions about avoiding burnout. I think they can apply to things outside of game development too. It's kind of unfortunate that there's a direct correlation between how much you can enjoy something and dedicate your all to it and how much you can get tired of it and burn out from it. But there's ways that you can manage it, and I promise it's possible. People do it. You can do it. So I hope that I at least gave you some tools that you can think about. You should totally send me your games if you make them, obviously. If you're interested in any promotions, you can message me on Discord. I go live every weekend. What else do I say? That's all I got, though. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!